Hey guys, it's Jan, Not a Real Farm. All right, guys, it's Sunday and it's rainy and cloudy out, but we are planting and getting things ready in the greenhouse. So, wanted to sort of start backwards, and these are my containers that I saved from the fresh, clean kitty litter that we normally recycle, but I wanted to use as growing buckets. And I wanted to show you that we've got our squash is blooming in the bucket already. So this is our butternut squash. So this one, because there wasn't a male flower available, is probably going to be aborted. There wasn't anything to basically help her fertilize, but that's pretty quick for squash. I'm actually really impressed with how much they are taking to the buckets. But we wanted to show you that just any old bucket with a few holes in the bottom can actually double as a raised garden bed if you have limited space. Let's move on. So everybody knows my famous red walking onion garden patch. So that is doing amazing. There is my yoga frog. I put him back up from last year. And down in here this year, in this cement little planter here, we actually have lovage that's growing. So a lot of times I like to grow lovage in place of celery because sometimes celery can be a little bit difficult. This lovage came back. I wasn't expecting it to fully come back. I thought, okay, it's going to die out over the winter, but it didn't. So we're going to have a nice lovage patch. And then we have something kind of cool that we're growing new this year. And at first glance, you probably think these are like a radish or maybe a broccoli of some sort, but they're actually pineapple flowers. And so I've got a patch here and I put a little patch over here. And so essentially what happens is you get these little flowers that come out on this plant. And if you hit them, the scent actually just smells like pineapples, which I thought would be kind of cool, just to have something different in the garden. So we'll keep an eye on those and see how those turn out. And then, of course, everybody knows the red walking onions are walking. We've cut from this patch now a few times, but it's still really growing really well. And pretty soon, these are starting to get large enough where they're going to now create just the bulbs on the ends, so then we can have new seed to send out. And then check out my crabapple. This crabapple tree is so happy. It just blossomed right out here. Look at all the leaves, beautiful, healthy, green leaves. Now this is grown, I had put it in this planter here in the corner, but now this has grown into the floor. So this is going to be a permanent tree in the greenhouse along with the plums. And then when I leave the door open, we'll be able to have the bees come in and to help us pollinate. So this tree is growing really, really well. It's actually doing a lot better than the other trees, the other crabapple trees that I planted outside. So let's keep an eye on it and see how it does. All right, we've got our infamous grape. This guy is just taking off this year. So once again, we're going to see the little clusters of flowers come out. And then this is going to set itself up for sending out those vines, and we should have a pretty good grape crop this year. Grapes are pretty low maintenance. They don't really require a lot of fertilizing. So essentially you can just leave them and let them do their own thing, but it has really leafed out since the last video that I showed you guys. All right, let's start backwards and work our way around to the front of the greenhouse, because normally I'm at the front and I go the other way. So today we'll do something different. So this is my cherry tree that I've got growing, and this is a second-year cherry tree, which I'm going to leave in here and keep pruned so that we can grow cherries inside and we don't have to stick them outside and worry about the deer. I've got 2 of those plants in here. We've got asparagus beans that at first went into shock, but now they're okay. So these guys are growing awesome. And surprise, surprise, our cucumbers in the back are still being fussy. So the one plant that I thought was going to do well actually sent out a flower, but he's looking kind of angry. And then the other one that I thought was actually going to die is doing better. Cucumbers are so weird. So every year I have this thing that either you're going to have a great crop with cucumbers or they're a complete flop. It's unfortunately one of those crops that you either love them or you hate them. Never been consistent with cucumbers. So I tried different varieties of cucumbers. So this one that I got growing in the back is Tango. So let's see how this one does when it starts to warm up. So we've got some shock happening here with our okra. So the okra is not liking it when it cools off at night in the greenhouse. So this is going to be a direct plant for me once I take these out. And then we're going to start from scratch. These okras are called heavy hitters, and the heavy hitters actually give you okra in about 65 days. So we'll still be able to get a full crop of okra. Okay, and back here we have our giant brandywines. So these are going to probably be about 2-pounders in terms of brandywine tomatoes. So we grew 4 of these here in a row, and we're going to try to keep them single stemmed so that we can just keep that nice air flow through the vines. We've got broccoli. So we've got our purple broccoli here. And then our hops in the back have started to actually grow up the panel. So this one was the one that was really behind, but he's catching up now. And then we've got 2 vines here in the back that are just taking off. So every once in a while, what I like to do with the hops is sort of pull the vine forward through. And as I did that, it actually started twirling to the front of the panel, which is what I want to do because it makes it easier to harvest. And we've got more purple broccoli, which is doing amazing. The leaves are starting to get a nice big size. And then here we have our notapinos. So I'm just in the process of planting all of this stuff, so I thought I'd bring you along. So the notapinos are essentially a jalapeno with no heat. And these are really, really growing nicely. You can see they've actually started to bud. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notapino plants. And so essentially what our hope is that, you know, we're going to grow enough abundance to share some more of those seeds in the store. I know the notapino seeds I think are sold out of my store, so this year we'll have another round to put in the store, so that'll be great. We've got eggplant. So this is a Black Beauty eggplant. We've got more peppers here. I threw in another purple broccoli because he was sort of the odd guy out, and I don't want to actually rogue the plants if they're healthy. And then we have our primos in the back. And then this is, if you guys remember the red peppers that I showed you last year that were outside that took a hit with the deer. So these are my red peppers, my nice red bell peppers. And they are looking super healthy. We don't have any buds yet in them in terms of flowers, but look how nice and green and lovely they are. And as a matter of fact, I'm still planting more. I've got this one here that I've got to plant and put in the ground. So these are my red pimentos. My hope is this year that with the amount of plants that I'm growing for the peppers, we'll also be able to offer you some of the red pimento seeds as well. Our primos in the back have actually started to flower. So it looks like we're going to have early tomatoes this year, which is kind of nice. We do have some tomatoes that have gone into shock that I'll have to replace, but most of them, for the most part, are doing okay. And then you can see here I've started planting extra plants. So we've got I planted some more kaleets. We've got our huckleberries, and we've got a few more pepper plants that I've decided to grow, and some that are still catching up. Some of these are experimental. Some of these peppers that I have that are just starting to grow are either Peruvian or Chilean peppers that aren't necessarily something that you'd see all the time in a seed store. So hopefully if I can get them to grow, one of these peppers actually takes almost 150 days to get a pepper itself. So that's going to be a challenge. I might have to move the pepper inside depending on how long it takes for it to fruit, but we'll see. And then here we've got crimson clover, which I'm purposely growing for the bees. This here is dragon tongue mizuna. So you can see there's actually a little bit, if you look really closely, a little bit of purple on some of the leaves. So that's going to be a little spicy. The idea of doing a lot of these greens is really to get more greens in terms of being able to eat more greens for my health. So we're trying some greens that we really haven't cooked or grown before to see how we like them. And this one here is another purple broccoli that I'm going to be putting outside. And then here we've got our regular green cabbage, which is loving the fact that it's a little bit chillier today in the greenhouse. And then we have a black paste tomato. So the black paste tomato is probably one of the blackest paste tomatoes you can get. And then it's got a little tinge of orange where it attaches to the plant, and that's it. So really high in vitamins. And these are more primos. And then here, which is the only melon I'm going to be growing this year for a sweet melon, is the Farm Woman's melon. Okay, a new bean that I'm growing this year that I haven't grown, that I've been asked to assist with getting more seeds out onto the market, is called a nun's belly button. And that is going to be interesting to see what that bean looks like. I've got two of the plants here. It looks to me like it's going to be a pole bean. So once we save a lot of these seeds, we'll offer those to you in the store as well. But that is the name of it, nun's belly button bean. And we have our mortgage lifter tomatoes, which have taken up this entire corner in the greenhouse. And then we move on down to our woolly Kates. Check that out. See how fuzzy they are? So these essentially are going to be almost a purpley black tomato. It's the first year we've grown it. We just want to see how it does in the greenhouse and taste test it and see if we think it should be something we should be offering in our store. But really cool plant so far. I'm enjoying looking at how fuzzy all the leaves are. Isn't that cool? All right, and here's my plant row in my Tidy Cats buckets. So a lot of these plants are doing really well in the buckets. We've got some zucchini that are kind of not happy, a little bit of plant shock, but these guys here, just move on over, are doing really well. And the reason I planted the zucchini in buckets is because the zucchini takes up so much room in the garden that zucchini almost needs its own space and just own place to spread out. So you take a look there. We've got lots of male flowers. And if we look really close, way in there, you can see that there's one yellow fruit. And then let's take a look at the other one. Let's see what we got in here. Lots of male flowers. Oh, let's see. Did I see one over? Oh, yep, here we go. And there we go. So we've got one yellow zucchini with all the male fruit, but that's okay. The leaves look amazing. And I like putting them in buckets because with the handles, if you want to get the zucchini out of your way, you can just pick it up and move it out of the way and you're good to go, as opposed to trying to put it in a corner of a garden where it takes up so much room that you can't get around it. And our beans. So you can see I had put essentially way more beans in here originally. And then what happens is some of them go into shock because I transplant them, or what happens is they just, for whatever reason, don't like the heat and they die off. So these ones here that are left behind are doing really well. They're giving me new leaves. And as a matter of fact, some of them are getting flowers. So we'll have, a nice small crop of green beans in the bed, and then I'll just take the rest of my bean seeds and move them outside. And of course, this is the plum tree. So I'm going to say this plum tree, what am I? I'm 5'6". So this plum tree is probably right about now, I'm going to say about 8 feet. I'm going to try and keep it. It shouldn't grow any taller than 10 feet, but if you look really up here, you can see just how close it is to my shade cloth. So we're going to try and keep that under control so that we can have plums. But pretty much, if you look really close, the blossoms are starting to fall off in a lot of cases. So it's done flowering for the spring now, this particular one, and we'll see what it brings. This is a second-year plant, and usually by year 4, you'll get normal-sized plums, but we'll see what happens. You never know. And if we look really closely here, this is my gooseberry plant. So this is my red gooseberry plant, and you can see that we've got a lot of not only thorns, Just back out a little bit. But we also have a lot of flowers. So the gooseberry has started to flower all the way down. And there's no doubt in my mind that this year we will have gooseberries for jam, which I'm totally excited about. And something that's taken off really well in here is our chocolate cherry sunflowers. So I'm still in the midst of planting them in our white planter here, and these are going to be almost like a cherry, a red brown, I guess I could call it that. So they went into shock a few days ago when I transplanted them, but it looks like they're okay now. And now I have 2 more that I'm going to be planting. And the chocolate cherry sunflowers are actually up in our store. I have full-blown pictures of those. You can see what they look like when they're in full bloom, but really beautiful. And as a matter of fact, when I look down here, we have flowers blooming from last year. So I believe that these are going to be our bachelor button or our asters that have dropped the seed in here, and then they're coming back. So we're going to have pink asters or pink bachelor buttons peeking out over here, and then we're going to have sort of a medium-sized sunflower that's going to be a sort of a reddish brown, even with a slight purple. Take a look at the photo and see what you think. Probably more purple. So it's going to be a really pretty container with the flowers in it once it's done. So I'm still actually in the midst of bringing a lot of the stuff that we grew indoors down to the greenhouse to plant it. But take a look at this. Look at these beautiful peppers. Look how big and green and healthy those leaves look. So this, I saved green pepper seeds from last year. And for whatever reason, I maybe got 5 out of the seeds. And sometimes it's just hit or miss. Sometimes you have a better year. Last year, for whatever reason, these did not save great. So my germination rate on these was low. So we're going to try again. But take a look at that. It's actually got some buds in here. So big, green, beautiful leaves. Let's see what happens. And then if it's successful, we'll save the seeds and we'll try again. That's the beauty of gardening, is the trial and error and what you come up with at the end of the year. That's the exciting part for me. And last but not least, we've got garden chicory. So the garden chicory is transplanted. It's happy. We've got new leaves coming up. So we'll be able to have some of that. I know a lot of this looks like weeds, but once again, if we look closely, you can see that that's Swiss chard with a little bit of weeds, but we can handle that. Here's some more garden chicory. And then in the next little bit over, we've got our mountain mint, which is taken off and almost already at the point of flowering already. So this is a mountain mint, and it grows like a weed, but it doesn't quite grow out of control the way the regular mints do that we're normally affiliated with. So this one is really tasty too, sort of a more of an earthy type mint. It's really nice. And then we've got some lettuce that went into shock but is coming back. And we've got some basil that is angry I transplanted with some parsley. And then here's our regular mint. And then we have our Turkestan oregano, which is coming back really nice, that I got from Richter's a couple of years ago, which seems to be okay. And then we threw in some okra in the back, so we'll see how that does. That's it for us today, guys. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, please pop them below. And happy Sunday. See you soon.